What's up, everybody? My name is Tony Hope, and you're listening to the Hear Me Roar podcast, a sports show where I run my mouth about all things sports. And today, I am back with my co-host, Noble Lewis, and we are presenting y'all another iteration of the Hear Me Roar podcast. And if you're not familiar with my voice, you better get used to it because I am the future of sports media. Today, I can't remember what episode this is, but it's going to be strictly NFL free agency. We are in probably the most busy time of the year in all of sports, probably besides the NBA trade deadline. I'll say the NFL free agency is probably one of the most hectic times in sports. A lot of bodies moving, and this year it's one of the craziest as far as just the volume of players re-signing or being traded or going to new teams. It's kind of overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. We had a couple big names go to new places. We had a couple of key re-signing, some trades that went through, and we're going to be here to break down all that we can in the allotted time that we have. It is so much, but you know what I'm saying? Breakdowns, analysis is going to be coming with this episode. We're going to start it off strong, but before we get going, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Share it with your people. Leave us a rating on Apple. Leave us a rating on Spotify. Let us know what we can do better on. Please continue to support. We appreciate it very much. So without any further ado, let's get right into this episode. Like we said, the NFL free agency has kicked off earlier this week, and it has started with the bang. The most recent move, literally 10, 15 minutes ago, was Keenan Allen, longtime Chargers wide receiver. He has been traded to the Bears for a fourth-round pick. Seems kind of, minuscule for a player of his cachet, a player of his talents, a player of his ability. And the Bears are kind of in a weird position. The Justin Fields trade market just completely died. I'm not sure what the hell happened to that. It just fell off a cliff. That train just completely stopped. But they're still bringing on board, marquee talent. They still got DJ Moore from the trade last offseason. Now they're bringing in Keenan Allen. What's going on with the Bears?
About that time, man. About that time. You know who they're getting. They got the number one pick. They got one of the biggest QB prospects I've seen in a long time. I mean, we all know how talented Caleb Williams is. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious in my eyes, at least. They're gearing up. This trade specifically, I think, really put their foot down on what they're going to do with this year's draft. There's questions about between Marvin Harrison, pairing him up with Justin Fields and what they've got going on in Chicago. But with this, getting this a bona fide, I mean, you got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. I don't even know who's going to be wide receiver 1 and who's going to be wide receiver 2. They're both very good, both elite talents. Keenan Allen had a couple injuries last year, had to miss a couple games, but I still think he's a very, very good talent. And so you got two great receivers. Now you're just looking for one thing, someone to throw the ball to him. So I think it might not even be Caleb, but I think they've got really – why would you not pick Caleb? But right. I think it's definitely going to be a quarterback at number 1.
I believe so, too. So it just really makes me wonder what the hell is going on with Justin Fields, right? We'll get to, he hasn't gone to any of the teams that have been rumored to pick him up via trade. But I like this move by the Bears. With this and, them still keeping that number 1 pick, they are probably going to draft Caleb Williams. I think they should. I think it's just time for a new face at quarterback in Chicago. Not because Justin Fields is sorry, not because he is underwhelming. It just never worked out like Chicago thought it would, like the Chicago fans thought it would, like we thought it would. Just time for a new change, and you want to do this, and the Bears are doing it the right way. They're gearing their new quarterback, who we assume to be Caleb Williams, with established talent, right? Established talent. This is like the complete opposite of what the Texans did. The Texans brought in youth. They were drafting wide receivers with CJ Stroud, a whole lot of young talent at receiver. The Bears are doing it the opposite way. They're bringing in veterans, especially Keenan Allen, who just came off of his best season last year with a franchise record with 1,243 yards, the second highest of his career, and finishing with 108 receptions. So he still has it. He is still a top receiver. It's just health also is a question, but that's something I won't put past him. He's still able to perform and compete. I think this is good for him as well. It's a new start. He's been with the Chargers all of his career. He was there with Phillip Rivers. He was there with the Tyrod Taylor lung punctureness, tomfoolery. He was there with Justin Herbert. He's had a great lineage of quarterbacks. Now he's going to try to keep that train moving with what we assume to be Caleb Williams. Like I said, we're just going to keep saying assume, even though we feel like it's set in stone. It's not confirmed yet. So, in your eyes, what's next for Justin Fields? Because I'm still very I don't know what I missed. I'm not sure what happened to his draft stock, or not his draft stock, but his trade stock, but it just crashed tremendously.
I think it's more a matter of teams. I think they're just waiting it out. Because I saw Nathan Peterman get signed by the Saints today. Nathan Peterman is not better than Justin Fields, right? Sam Darnold got signed by the Vikings. Sam Darnold is not better than Justin Fields. I think it's just a matter of teams wanting to wait it out because they know they're going to draft. Why give up assets for him now if he's going to be a free agent in a year, right? So for teams that don't think that they need, someone like the Vikings in particular, they're paying Sam Darnold for this. They signed him to a 1-year deal. Well, after this 1 year, he's going to be out. They'll have things to figure out with Justin Jefferson, but they re-signed Justin Jefferson, and now they can get Justin Fields for free. They'll have to pay him in free agency, but for free rather than having to give up assets to get him. So I think, in my eyes, I think that's the biggest thing of what's going on here because, just seeing some of the signings there's obviously teams that need quarterbacks, and I think he's not worse than 32 quarterbacks in the league. I don't think he's a backup. So I think it really just comes down to teams wanting to wait it out. The Bears are going to draft you have a very strong feeling that the Bears are going to draft a quarterback. Don't give up assets to get him when you could just wait a year.
Right. Okay. So I can see that. Like I said, this is that wasn't even just a question to promote or to provoke conversation. I genuinely did not know. I don't know what I missed, but I just don't know what the hell happened.
No, definitely. The talks just all the way died down, and I think it's also just a couple teams signing what they need. Obviously, the Falcons were one of the leaders in the whole race at one point, but they went out and got Kirk Cousins, so they don't need it anymore. But like I said, I think it's just teams wanting to wait it out. If they're going to get a quarterback anyways, they have nothing to do with Justin Fields. Just wait till he's a free agent. You don't have to give up assets for him.
Yep, and as you just mentioned, my Atlanta Falcons, this was a move that I've been thinking about for a while. I think when did it happen? Monday, Tuesday, one of those days. So it's been I've had a couple of days to think on it, and I've had mixed feelings, but now I think I'm coming around to it. The Falcons have themselves a new quarterback. Kirk Frost, you know what I'm saying? It's Kirk O'Chains. We got Kirk Cousins, who's going to be behind center next season. He got signed to a 4-year, $180 million contract, which is whoever his agent is just
making him paid his whole
crazy
career.
Work. Yeah, Kirk Cousins gonna retire with a fucking sack.
Yeah, he's made over $300 million in his career.
It's insane. It's insane. And he, I'm not gonna say he doesn't deserve it because he's always been kind of right below the upper echelon of quarterbacks, right outside that top 10, but not lower than top 15.
Last year before he got hurt, he was really looking.
He was doing really good.
Yeah, he was looking top 10 before he got hurt.
But some of the reasons why I was kind of hesitant at first, I've seen a lot of fans who were either very excited or very pessimistic, and I get both reasons. The pessimism might come from him being 35 years old and he's coming off of an Achilles injury that shortened his, like you said, great 2024 season. He was leading the NFL in passing yards per game at 291 before he got hurt in week 8, I believe. Yeah, week 8. So the Achilles injury it has a lot of people kind of on the fence. Also, we all know the meme about primetime Kirk. He's not able to get it done in the big games. Not able to do it on Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. He only has one playoff games out of his 3 appearances with the team. One win. So it's kind of, he's been with the team since 2018. So it's like I said, I understand the pessimism. I understand it. But why I came around to supporting the move is, this move, number one, it signifies that the Falcons are, or we have big expectations for next season, for not just the team itself, because of course, but every member on payroll, from the head coach, our new head coach Raheem Morris, to our offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, to even, I'm sure, the goddamn cafeteria staff. Everybody has high expectations for this year. Arthur Blank especially has a lot of expectations for everyone on payroll, and we are in win now mode. 35-year-old vet over trading for Justin Fields. That signifies win now. A reason why I am on board with this move is that he's joining the offense ran by, like you said, new offensive coordinator for the Falcons, Zach Robinson. We saw the work that he did in LA under Sean McVay with Matthew Stafford. They went and got a ring. And that was a big gamble with them going from Jared Goff to an aging vet who hadn't won anything with Matthew Stafford. Like I said, it ended in a Super Bowl ring and a career revitalization for Matt Stafford. I like our chances if Zach Robinson is going to run kind of like the similar play or the similar scheme that he ran or that he was in command of in Los Angeles. I'm fine with that. Kirk is going to have plenty of young talent to throw to. We saw what he was able to do with Justin Jefferson. That gives me hope for what he can do with Drake London, with Kyle Pitts, with Bijan Robinson. It's going to take some pressure off of those young top 10 draft picks as far as what they're going to be able to do. We went from Taylor Heineke, we went from Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota and Taylor Heineke. These young guys had little to work with. Let's be real. I'm on board. This feels like a new era for the Falcons. It's like a stink that's finally being cleaned off of us since that Super Bowl collapse in 2016. That's what I truly feel. Maybe it's my Atlanta optimism. I get it every year. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I think that Kirk Cousins is kind of ushering in a new era for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's just the pieces are starting to fall into place for the Falcons. I think it's a lot of things, and I like the parallel you made with the Rams. It almost feels the exact same. I mean, you got Raheem Morris, who was the DC during, and then you got Zach Robinson, who was the OC back during their ring. So it just feels literally like the pieces are finally coming into play for the Falcons. They finally have, there's one of the most underrated things about being a fan of any team is QB certainty. Coming from someone who was a fan of the 49ers, who's had so much quarterback controversy over the last couple of years, one of the few things I can say that feels I can finally say is that we have an established starter for the foreseeable future. That is one thing that I'm so glad that I can finally say. So it feels that way with Kirk Cousins. It's no more guessing. It's no more, is Desmond Ridder the guy? Is, obviously Marcus Mariota wasn't the guy, but is, Taylor Heineke, it's just quarterback certainty. You have somebody who you don't know what the ceiling is yet, but you know what the floor is. And the floor is at least, NFC South is still a pretty weak division. The floor is probably winning the division, to be honest, with the division they're in. So I just think it gives a place, a stability. It gives you a foundation, something to look at and build from. Obviously the team is very built itself, but it just gives you something to look forward to, something that you think is ready. And like you said, a lot of expectations from top down. Even Terry Fontenot, I'm sure, all these moves that he made, I'm sure he's done a great job, but I'm sure they expect this to all come to some fruition.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I was born and raised with Matt Ryan being the man. And I think all of Atlanta took that for granted when he left, when we got rid of him and he went to the Colts. Everybody was calling for him, or, not everyone, but the impatient, fair weather, ignorant ass Falcons fans were calling for him to go. And when he went, guess what? They still complained because who was in his place? Marcus Mariota. We thought Desmond Ridder was the guy. He wasn't. Our backup, Taylor Heineke, was just there to keep us afloat, which he barely did. So Kirk Cousins, like you said, he's established. He's an established vet. I wish we would have gotten a better backup as far as someone who's a little bit higher than Taylor Heineke, like a Jameis Winston, a Jacoby Brissett, maybe even a Gardner Minshew. I would have liked any of those
I don't
guys.
even think Jameis Winston. I think he's trying to get a starting job. I mean, we can talk about when we get
He
to the
said
Browns.
he thinks he's a starter, but
I think if you talk about top 32, I think he's a top 32 quarterback.
hold on, I don't know what the hell just fell. A top 32 quarterback.
You think a top, they were 32. I don't think there's 32 quarterbacks better than Jameis Winston personally. I mean, who do the Ravens? I mean, not Ravens. Who do the Raiders have a quarterback?
Yeah, that's fair. But why would he go and just to kind of keep this going or put this all into context? Jameis Winston signed with the Cleveland Browns, which is just as much of a starting job as going anywhere else would have been, with Deshaun Watson's damn health and future up in the air. But
Yeah,
I mean, you're right. I think
and that's a 1-year deal.
Starter. Yeah,
it's just a 1-year deal. So it's not like he's locked in forever. They'll see how he gets to see if something does happen with Deshaun, because I think Deshaun's going into like the second or last year of his contract. If something does happen, maybe he can and they have success with Jameis, maybe he can re-sign. And if it doesn't work out, maybe he can go somewhere else that needs a quarterback the year after. But I think
it's for selfish reasons why I want him. I like J-Bo. I like him. He's an entertaining.
He's a great locker room guy. Locker room guy.
And I think it's the same with him. Like, we kind of know what the floor is going to be, which is he's at least going to get you to the playoffs. That's in my eyes. Yeah. And depending on division, he's going to get you to the playoffs. He's going to win. He's going to be able to. He's going to lose you some games, but for the most part, he's going to win. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I would have liked him as a backup, because the Achilles injury is not as scary as it once was. We know how advanced the medicine has gotten. We know how Kirk Cousins certainly has the money to take care of his body and get the proper rehab and anything else he needs to accelerate and strengthen his body. I just would have liked a better backup just in case, because
and it's not like his game is super reliant on his.
Oh no, he's a pocket quarterback.
Yep, it's not like
he's old school pocket quarterback.
It's not like he has too much movement, and that's why I'm not really all that worried about the Achilles. Because, like you said, I mean, Kevin Durant coming back went back to the NBA after an Achilles injury, right? Klay Thompson got back to NBA. Obviously he's kind of fallen off some, but that was after an ACL injury as well. So they're getting back to, but starting NBA talent level. If they can do that in the NBA with as much running and jumping as they've done on those Achilles, I have no problem I have 100% faith that Kirk Cousins can get back to the level he was at, or just because of an Achilles injury. Because, like I said, his game isn't relying on his athleticism. He's not going to run. He's not looking to run. He's not running read option with Kirk Cousins. He's throwing from the pocket. So as long as he doesn't give out when he's dropping back, right, I think he'll be fine.
Which is looking at what happened to your boy in the Super Bowl.
Oh no! You're talking about Dre Greenlaw? Oh
yeah, right. I've seen what happened to him. I don't know. That shit might be a possibility. Exactly, but and shit. Like I said, I'm not too concerned. I think his age, who also was possibly available with Justin Fields, was rumored. Us trading up and trying to get Jaden Daniels was rumored. I think the fans really wanted a young black quarterback at the helm, but we also have to look at I get it. I get why. You know what I'm saying? I would have been happy with either of those guys, but Kirk Cousins is just as good, possibly even better, just due to how efficient he's been at as a starter, right? Like statistically, he is probably the best quarterback we could have had that was available. Like, being real, statistically, he is.
I think also part of the whole young black quarterback thing was just Raheem did say they wanted to get somebody that fits the culture of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Kirk kind of does when you look at Matt Ryan. When you look at Matt Ryan and you look at the chains and all of that stuff, Kirk, and that's why I think it's a good fit. I think he does kind of fit the culture, even though he's a white dude. I think he's still like he's cool. Like, I think like he's still chill. Like I think he does fit the culture.
He got that attitude with him.
Yeah, exactly. I think he
Remember,
fits the culture pretty
we
relatively.
can never forget when he was in Washington. He was like, "You like that? You like that?" You know what I'm saying? Like he's there with it. Clearly in Minnesota, same thing. He walking around here with these big ass chains and shit, gold teeth in his mouth and everything. So,
And he's a
Justin
great
Jefferson.
locker room guy. I've
I was about to
only
say,
heard
yep.
good things about him in the locker room.
Justin Jefferson swears by him.
Exactly.
So, I like I said, that's great. Great signs for a team that has young, athletic, talented, skill position players in Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson. There was this little joke at his introductory press conference with who's going to be wearing the number 8 number between him and Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts pretty much said, "I don't give a damn about the number if you throw me the ball."
Targets, man. Give me some targets.
And
Kirk said it was
Cousins
jokingly.
No, that nigga Kyle Pitts was not joking. He was being dead serious. Bro, his best year was when Matt Ryan was on his way out. That is horrible. That is sad. Got to get him the ball because as of right now, it's looking like we wasted that pick on him, right? And that's not to diminish his talent. It's not because of his talent. It's just because of how he's being utilized. So with Kirk Cousins, I think that's going to change. I think that was a great pickup for the Falcons. I'm excited for next year. I think we're going to really shock some people as far as how good we're going to be. I think we're expected to be good, but I think we're going to exceed expectations I think we're going to win 12 games minimum. 12 games minimum in this weak ass NFC South. I think we're going to win 12 games minimum.
Yeah.
And
be in
contention.
Yeah, they added a couple weapons as well.
Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, Rondale Moore. They traded Desmond. That's who they traded away Desmond Ridder for to the Cardinals. They signed Ray McLeod, the 49ers returner, although his staying might not be the best after what happened in the Super Bowl, but they did sign him. They also
I need to talk about him. I need to talk to him real quick because I don't know if I need to make sure that he's going to Atlanta. And Ray McLeod, I need to know if you're focused on football or if you're trying to be a rapper. I need to know. I see you. I hear your music in Madden, and it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I like it. I see you. But I need to make sure that when you come here, don't be trying to get caught up in no Rico down here. You know what I'm saying?
You're not hanging with Baby and Future in them.
Exactly. Nope. Your ass gonna be on Flowery Branch, Georgia, working with the team and getting right. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna save the rapping for the offseason.
Also signed Charlie Warner from former backup tight end from the 49ers. He's a great blocker. Not the best hands, but that's what Kyle Pitts is for. He's a great blocker. You know, good blocking tight end for a backup. So a couple weapons. They got a couple weapons to add to getting Kirk as well. So I think all in all, the pieces are starting to fall together, and we'll just have to see what they attack in the draft.
Absolutely. I'm very excited though. I think we really we took a swing. It's a risk. Took a swing, but I think it's going to be a home run. Saquon Barkley jumped ship. No longer a New York Giant. Instead, he is taking the train to Philadelphia to become an Eagle. He signed a 3-year, $37 million contract. I'm happy for him because he wasn't going to get that money in New York. The New York Giants are an embarrassment of a franchise. They've been one of the worst franchises since their last Super Bowl win in 2012. They haven't done jack shit since. This is a big investment.
The boat pick was the boat picture.
Oh yeah, the boat pick that was a collapse. Oh my lord!
Because before that, they were even still in the mix a little bit. Yeah. The boat picture was the start of it all. The end.
When Sterling Shepard was on the boat in Tim's, my nigga,
Trey Songz.
Miami. Like, come on. Firstly, what are you doing in Miami with Tim's? Your ass really well, I guess you had to go to Green Bay, but you packed Tim's in your suitcase to Miami? Do you know how hot it is down there, bro? It's so humid and your feet are just stanking up in some Tim's
on a boat.
On a boat. Like if anything were to happen and you fell into the water, you're sinking to the bottom. You're sinking to the bottom. You're not fighting for your life. And you had no life. We're going off track here. That was pre-Saquon Barkley. Ever since they got Saquon Barkley with the second pick in the 2018 draft, they still weren't able to do anything. He was the sole reason really why the Giants made the playoffs last year. He was the reason why Daniel Jones got that massive contract. And now he's gone. He got franchise tag. He said he wants his money. And I'm glad for him. This was a big investment for the Eagles, considering their GM, Howie Roseman, never spends money on a running back. Never. Miles Sanders was drafted, and he was let walk. They let him walk in free agency to the Panthers, and DeAndre Swift. They acquired him in a trade with the Lions. They both made no more than like $2 million with the Eagles.
And he went to the Bears. They let
Right,
him walk, and he went to the Bears.
and I think he get paid. Yeah, he got paid from the Bears too.
Yeah, he got a bag from them.
And the only Eagle running back or Saquon Barkley has made the most money of an Eagles running back since DeMarco Murray. I'm sorry, DeMarco Murray in 2015. He signed a 5-year, $42 million deal. And Roseman wasn't even the one who made that decision. So the Eagles are a team that are reliant on the run game. When DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders were on roster, they both made the Pro Bowl. They're relying on the run game. But now they're getting a running back who is better than both of those guys. He's quicker. He's stronger. He has good hands. He is agile, very versatile. He's all-purpose running back, and he offers a level of explosiveness out of the backfield that the Eagles haven't had. I like this move for the Eagles. The price tag is a little, 37, 3 years. We'll see how that works, especially with them losing Jason Kelce to retirement. We're going to see how it will affect them.
Who knows? That dude might come back, man.
He
should. Saquon, man. He might.
Yeah,
I don't know if his wife. I don't know if his wife would allow that with the kids and all. But
yeah,
I know he's itching to come back when they got Saquon. But I don't know if they afford him because of the agent. I think because he retired is the reason that they can afford.
They can afford to get him.
Yeah, so I don't know if he could even come back. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, I think it's a really good pickup. Saquon is still a top back in the league. He's still one of those guys, and you're just adding him to an already star-studded lineup. You still got Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith has one more, on his 5th-year option. Dallas Goedert. So might not be seeing a lot more tush pushes because I think Jason Kelce was the main thing of those tush pushes. But now you don't need him because you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield. So it's like, I think that's a very great pickup for them. They got a couple other really good pieces as well. Devontae Parker is going to be a really good wide receiver 3. I think that's a great, he was wide receiver 1 in New England, but he's not a wide receiver 1. Now, he barely, solid wide receiver 2, but wide receiver 3, he's probably the best wide receiver 3 you can have.
Right.
So
I say put his ass in the slot. We
exactly.
looking, that's like you said, that is a very star-studded lineup. Like we're looking at AJ Brown.
Yeah, they extended Landon Dickerson, the All-Pro right tackle. So lots of talent on that roster, especially offensively.
Right. I like that point you made with the tush pushes, and you're right. They're probably not going to have to use it as much with at the volume that they did, it pretty much like spamming it for the last couple of years, because Saquon, he can be used reliably on third downs. We look at DeAndre Swift, look at Miles Sanders. Neither of those guys are really the biggest. They're not as far, they're not somebody that you're going to be going to on third down. Saquon is. He has the 4th highest third down touches since 2022 at 72, and he picked up 21 first downs on those 72 attempts. I think number 1 was Christian McCaffrey. I can't remember the names in between there, but that's still
Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, something like
that. Something like that. So it's for him to have so many touches on third down. I think the Eagles, they also factored in. He's like I said, he's just so versatile. Like third downs, you can get the ball in him on the outside zone runs, inside runs, passing game. Exactly. You have a good, and play action that opens up the play action for the Eagles, and I think that was a good way to kind of stop the spiral that they've been in. Like I said, they lost. I think Fletcher Cox retired too, that's another locker room leader that they lost. They lost Jason Kelce. Of course, that their late season collapse where they lost 6 of their last 7 games. That embarrassing performance in the playoffs. I think this is kind of like a good sign that we're still championship material. We're still cream of the crop. We're going to have to go out and prove it. So I like that pickup for the Eagles. Health is the only question, as it has been for most of Saquon's career. He missed 8 games since his 2020 ACL tear, including last year, missing 3 games to an ankle injury. So if he can stay healthy, stay on the field, he offers consistency to the Eagles offense. That's something that they were lacking last year. They weren't very consistent on a week to week basis. Like we would, what game was it when they were throwing screens on third downs? You know, like
somewhere at the end of the year,
it's
third and
that's not
long,
something that yeah, like come on now, like
third
we
and
need to see
18.
and they changed coordinators too, both right, or was it just defense?
Both
Okay,
coordinators.
so hey, you know what I'm saying? It's looking up for the Eagles. It's looking up. You know,
re-signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson after his 1 year stint in Detroit. They got Bryce Huff coming off a 10-sack season from Bryce Huff coming off a 10-sack season with the Jets. So they definitely retooled and re-upped for going into this year. I think it's gonna come down. A lot of it's gonna come down to coaching. A lot of it's gonna come down to scheme. Because I mean, when you look at a weapons perspective, and even it was the same way last year. Even last year, they did have the weapons. They had a terrible scheme. So I think it's just going to come down to matter if they can use their upgraded weapons better than they could use the weapons that they had last year. So
I don't know, man. The league might need to watch out because Big Dom finna be on the sideline again. You know what I'm saying? Him and his Nick Sirianni.
Sirianni looked like he pretty much rolls with him everywhere. He was with him at the combine. So
yeah, I'm not. That's a weird relationship or dynamic.
Yeah, honestly, I might put in my backup linebacker to go antagonize him real quick, get him thrown out of the game,
right?
So Sirianni can fall apart.
That was still such an odd thing that happened last year. That's probably one of the oddest, like, what the hell was that moments of last year? Like, bro putting his hands on players and got tossed and suspended for the rest of the season on the sideline. And it so happened to coincide with the downfall of the Eagles, leading to retirements and choke games and losing in the playoffs. That is so odd. But hey, man, I don't know. 49ers might need to watch out. 49ers might need to be, you know what I'm saying, tighten their boots. You better hope they can go re-up.
Absolutely have to. I think, Brock, I expect him to take another step because a lot of people forget he could not throw. He literally wasn't medically cleared to throw a ball until training camp. He couldn't get any better, couldn't establish any rapport with his receivers, do anything like that because he could not throw a ball until training camp. Now he's got a whole offseason to work on his game. Hopefully they target some offensive line in the draft. You still got Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey in the backfield. And they made a couple moves, not more so on the defensive side, because defensively, Chase Young it's looking like he's not coming back, but they got Leonard Floyd on a 2 year. He's coming off a 10-sack season. They got Yetur Gross-Matos from the Panthers. That's a solid pickup. And so, they did lose Eric Armstead, but they also signed what was the tackle? I got to look up the tackle name. I'll get back to you that in a second. But I think this is a very important draft for the 49ers.
Jordan Elliott?
Yes, that's what it was. Jordan Elliott, 2 years, $10 million. So this is a very important draft in terms of the future of this team. They absolutely have to get hits in this draft if they want to stay in contention because that 22 draft with pretty much the only player we still have on the team really is Brock Purdy, or the only one that's still starting is Brock Purdy. That draft set us back a couple years. I'm gonna be honest with you. That draft was terrible. So they absolutely have to get a couple starters, honestly, like 2 or 3 solid starters from this draft. It's a very important draft for them.
It is. So, hey, man, it's shaping up to be a competitive year next year. Like, ain't nobody – it's going to be – I'd say the 49ers kind of pulled away as, like, cream of the crop come playoff time. Like, we knew we knew the 49ers were going to be up here. The Lions were probably the second best team after on that last stretch of the season. So, we kind of knew the 49ers were going to be there. This upcoming year, though, we'll see some of these NFC teams and how they kind of shaping up right now. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very competitive.
It's a matter of health, really, honestly. Mm-hmm. You got to see who's healthy going into the playoffs because, I mean, roster-wise, there's so much. It's just stacked. It's stacked in the NFC especially. So we'll have to see how that goes into next season. But, yeah, it's not going to be as easy this year. It wasn't easy last year, but it's not.
Right, I'm saying that's saying something exactly. On transitioning to the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens, they're having an up and down free agency. Number one, they entered free agency with like 20 plus free agents, which is just absurd. But let's start with the highs, right? The biggest of which being the Ravens run game. it grows even more potent with the acquisition of former Titan running back and former Offensive Player of the Year, Derrick Henry. He signed a 2-year, $16 million deal with the Ravens, which, by the way, is tremendous value with their cap situation. It was really tight, so if they didn't have a lot of money to spend with all the free agents that they had. They knew they were going to lose some of which probably they wish they wouldn't have lost. But bringing in Derrick Henry on 2 years, $16 million with a Super Bowl window that is very wide open, it's tremendous value. Like I said, they almost landed him via trade before the trade deadline last year until the Titans decided to ride out their main draw. They said, we will go ahead and give these season ticket holders their value for their money and just let him play the rest of this year. But they ended up getting him in free agency. So now we're looking at a backfield where Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are going to be the two main, offensive pieces. That's like yin and yang right there. It's really perfect complementary of each other.
You still got Keaton Mitchell coming off of his injury. He's if he's back to what the upside he was looking like he was going to have, that's another piece in the backfield. Scary. Still got Gus Edwards, so you can take the load off of Derrick Henry.
Oh, they lost him.
Oh, they did lose him.
That was a part of the loss that he went to the Chargers.
Okay, well, they still got, they still can take the load. They can balance that load that running back load.
And J.K. Dobbins is a free agent right now. They haven't re-signed him, but I mean, if we're being real, the Ravens have had one of a top run game for the last few years with a run by committee effort anyways. Like, it's always a team effort. It's not just one star running back. It's always multiple. Exactly. So they can always find someone else to take that load off. But you know who their number one and number two is? They got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, who are pretty much 1A and 1B, depending on situation. You got a power rusher, former 2,000-yard rusher, absolutely a beast and a tank of a man. You got Lamar Jackson, who's probably the most dynamic rusher from the quarterback position we have ever seen. Probably since Mike Vick, maybe even greater, Cam. So it's one of those situations where, like I said, it's yin and yang. They complement each other perfectly. I like this pickup for him. I like it, and like I said, you can really flesh it out.
That's a nasty read option.
Man, what
do you pick there?
On the wrong side of that.
What do you even pick there? So it's like, and it seems like we're seeing a lot of that thunder and lightning type duos, running back committees, more and more pop up in the NFL. I don't know if it's because of injuries or what, but it just seems like we see a lot. I mean, the Lions made it work last year with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They're probably going to run that back. The Falcons have Algier, who's more of a bruiser. They got Bijan Robinson, who's kind of does it both. We're talking about the Ravens. They kind of have their own thunder and lightning with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and even Keaton Mitchell, who's a little bit more of a speedster. So it seems like we're seeing that a lot in that. And just running back committees in general just seem to be a greater trend. And running back depth has become so much more important than it was in previous years.
I agree with that. And I think a reason for that is just how expendable the position is. Like I said, we haven't seen the Eagles drop big money on a running back. You either get them in the draft or you pick up or someone in trade who is still on a rookie contract or is still young and trying to establish themselves. Like, it's a very expendable position. So you do want to, especially if you don't have the room or the flexibility financially to sign a big name, going out and just doing a group effort in the backfield, especially with how athletic these quarterbacks are getting as well. Like, it's just it's too many folds. Like, you can be successful without having the run game be your primary focus with a superstar. However, with the Ravens, they clearly wanted Henry. They wanted him for a while now, and I think that this is just a good pickup, and it's going to pay dividends in the regular season and the playoffs. He's still a top talent, still a top rusher. His age, people always want to talk about age and running backs. Man, Derrick Henry is a beast of a man. He's going to be straight. We don't have to worry about that. 2 years, $16 million. Also, that's not a huge investment as far as some bank breaking
$5 million less a year than Saquon got.
Exactly. So let's be real. That's going to be a great pickup. Also, another win for the Ravens, re-signing Justin Madubuike. He resigned with the team on a 4-year, $98 million contract extension. That was one of their top priorities of the offseason. And, man, they were hell-bent on not letting him walk. Look, they re-signed him the first opportunity they could. And they gave all the money possible to him. He was one of the best defensive tackles in the league and a cornerstone to their defense. 13 sacks as an interior D lineman. That's impressive. Because especially considering that you're probably getting double teamed, you're going against some massive men with the center and the guard positions. I like that. I like that pickup. That was a great re-signing, especially since they had so many free agents. It was either re-sign him or re-sign Patrick Queen. I think they chose the right decision re-signing Justin Madubuike because you already made Roquan Smith the highest paid linebacker in 2022 when they gave him his bag. So it was kind of predictable they were going to lose Patrick Queen. That was one of their lows. Gus Edwards also left the team, joined Jim Harbaugh in the LA Chargers. Their safety, Geno Stone, joined their division rival Bengals. He led the AFC with 7 interceptions. Also lost Devin Duvernay, wide receiver, special team specialist. John Simpson, left guard John Simpson to the Jets. He played all 17 games, so that's kind of a valuable pickup for the Jets, who is going to be expecting Aaron Rodgers to come back. So they got to protect him. That was a good pickup for them. And their cornerback, Ronald Darby, to the Jags as well. Like I said, though, their biggest loss was Patrick Queen, because guess who they lost him to? The goddamn Steelers. Their rival, one of the most fierce and most hated, most hatred between two teams in the NFL, period. He signed a 3-year, $41 million deal with them, and he's going to be joining a stout defense headlined by edge rushers TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and safety Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's nice. That's a nice defense. And firstly, the defense is already the reason why they have, remained a relevant team as far as wins are concerned and why they made the playoffs. So bringing Patrick Queen, the interior linebacker, to that squad, it was a good pickup.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Steelers, they still have, or before they still have, and it is still a little bit of uncertainty, but the main issues are kind of offensively for that team, more specifically quarterback. But they went out and made a big splash by getting Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal. So I'm sorry, was it a 1-year deal? What was it was a 1-year vet minimum deal. And like we said, we talk you can sign Russ for that cheap because he's still getting paid from the Broncos, right? Because
Broncos still on the goddamn hook for him.
Yeah, exactly. He's still getting $30 million. Yeah, $30 million from the Broncos. So they were able to get, like we said, somebody was able to get him for that vet minimum because of that Broncos still being on the hook for him. So they got that. I think this is going to be an important draft coming up for them. Defensively, they're pretty stout. Like you said, Patrick Queen holding on the linebackers. Minkah Fitzpatrick is an absolute playmaker in the defensive backfield. So you got a lot to work with defensively. I think it's more offensively. There's still a couple questions between Najee Harris, wide receiver wise. They traded away Deontay Johnson to the Panthers, so they lost him picking.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, no, they traded him away to the Panthers for a second or something. Yeah, I think a second round pick, something around there.
Now that you said that, damn, I kind of I wrote some stuff down about the Steelers and their offense. Now I might have to reconsider it. Damn.
Yeah, so they traded Deontay Johnson away. So that Pickens is pretty much the only receiver they have for real. So right. They got this is gonna be an important draft for them to see how they figure how they go forward. I don't know who's gonna be the starting quarterback between Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson. I'm not high on Kenny Pickett at all. I think he's a backup, but I guess we could see.
Right. I'm about to say, look, man, I know Mike Tomlin said they're going to try to bring in some competition for Kenny Pickett. With them signing Russell Wilson, there is no competition. He will be quarterback 1 by the new year. I can promise you that. I promise. Let's be honest. They have had one of the most inept quarterback rooms for the last 5 years since Ben Roethlisberger was on his last legs in 2020. They just still have managed to stick around just long enough to get into the playoffs, to finish above 500.
Mike Tomlin, they're above 500, man.
Exactly. So, they're hoping that Russell Wilson is able to unlock their offense and push them to championship contention because, look, You signed him to 1 year vet minimum. Broncos still on the hook for his $37 million guaranteed money for 2025. So the Steelers don't really have much to lose. To be honest, all Russ has to do is throw more touchdowns to Kenny Pickett, who only threw 6 fucking touchdowns in a full in what 12 games. So if Russell Wilson can just play just more, if he can throw more than 6 touchdowns, the Steelers are winning 2 more games, bro. So I'm being so real. They have.
I ain't gonna lie, 6
They have
touchdowns is ridiculous. Man. Every time I see that
touchdowns
number,
and 4 interceptions in 12 games.
And I know they had what was the OC that they had who was pretty bad. They had him for
Matt
a while.
Canada.
Yeah, but even after that, he still didn't have a lot of success. So it's just I don't think Kenny Pickett's the answer. In my eyes, he's definitely not the answer. And I agree with you. Where I think by the end of training camp, Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for that team in my eyes.
Yep. With they have their new offensive coordinator, Arthur FedEx Smith. So I will be rooting for the Steelers' downfall. He's gonna be calling their plays as a new OC. So you can expect the ball to be ran hard and often. I think this is going to be a big deciding year for Najee Harris. He had a great rookie year, but he's kind of had a little slump. For him to get back into top tier running back form, it's going to be big for him. With
they
Arthur
also have
Smith,
Jalen Warren.
Yeah, Jalen Warren as well. So, like I said, expect once again thunder and lightning. Expect them to be running the ball a lot more. Their defense, they had the 6th highest scoring defense in the league last year, and they were the sole. Like I said, it was the sole reason they were in the playoffs. So, if Russ can get the ball into George Pickens' hands downfield, minimize turnovers, and put the Steelers in position to win the ugly close games that they were in so many times last year, the Steelers will actually have some credence to their names come playoff time. But like you said, they still got questions at that wide receiver position. We already saw what Russell Wilson did in the Broncos with a lack of solidified Broncos skill position talent. We don't want to see a repeat of that, right? The days of Russell Wilson kind of taking over and being the man on the team, being a two-way. What do you want to call it? A dual threat. That's what it is. Not two-way. I'm thinking about basketball. A dual threat quarterback where he can run the ball for 100 yards a game and then throw it for the same amount. No, those days are over. But he is still capable of winning you games. So Steelers, some of these free agents that are still available: Tyler Boyd, Odell Beckham, DJ Chark, Josh Reynolds. I almost said MVS. Glad I caught myself because that would not do any better. But yeah, they got to go and they got to find somebody or get somebody in the draft. Like you said, they need to go ahead. They need to find a number 2 for George Pickens because we all know George Pickens will be number 1 because there was a whole little drama and during the middle of the season between him and Deontay Johnson. Now he's got his number 1 position. We'll see. We know he has the talent of doing so. Now we're just going to see consistency. A reason why we weren't able to is because of quarterback play. Now we have a veteran. We have a quarterback with cachet. So we're going to see how different this offense is going to look. It's going to be interesting to see. I expect him to be quarterback 1 as well. Kenny Pickett. I mean, look, let's be real. They had Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, and Ben Roethlisberger going through a cycle for the last 5 years. You're glad to have Russell Wilson. I promise you that.
Yeah, could a little bit of at least somewhat of stability.
Exactly. Yep. And like I said, they got nothing to lose. 1 year veteran minimum. No. Oh, I'm so sorry. They do have something to lose. His 500 record. Mike Tomlin's above 500 record. They do have something to lose. So Russell Wilson, you cannot show up on some bullshit because Mike Tomlin will probably kill you if you start to choke.
They are in a pretty tough division. Honestly, one of the toughest. It's not the toughest division in the NFL between the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals. 3. If Joe Burrow is healthy, that's 3 playoff teams right there, or playoff caliber teams right there. So they're in a pretty tough division. They're gonna have a lot to. It's not gonna be easy for them. They've really got to hit in this draft.
Yeah, I was about to say man. I think though, once you play in the AFC North long enough, I think the intensity is they're just so used to it by now. They're like, man, we just every fight is on every game is gonna be a dog fight.
Game, yeah.
Really, bro. Like it's gonna be we're ready for it. But it's the games where they play against inferior talent where they were losing. or they were too close. Like, why are we why is it a close game against the Titans or the Colts or the not the Browns, the Broncos? You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the games you have to win. You have to win. Kenny Pickett wasn't able to do so. The play calling wasn't. The offense was just horrible. Just horrible. From getting up the field to red zone to deep plays, all of it just horrible. Everything. So I'm gonna be looking forward to seeing the early developments of. Pretty much a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. No Deontay Johnson. We're gonna see. Sticking in the AFC still, the Houston Texans have arguably been the biggest winners of the offseason so far. They signed former Vikings pass rusher Danielle Hunter to a 2-year, $49 million deal. I really like that pickup. That was a very, very good pickup. He's 29 years old and is producing better than ever. He's coming off of a 16.5 sack season last year. This is the 5th time he has had double-digit sacks in a single season. With Houston losing Jonathan Grenard to Minnesota, it was essentially a trade. They both, they pretty much swapped edge rushers. And Daniel Hunter adds another cog to an already impressive Texas defense.
Offensive rookie of the year,
Yep.
Will Anderson Jr.
Yep.
They went out and signed Azeez Al-Shaair from the Titans, who's played under the D'Amico system in San Francisco. So they added Lonnie Johnson. They got Derek Stingley. They got a lot of pieces in that defense, and it just looks like they're constructing that roster. While they're still on CJ Stroud's rookie deal, offensively and defensively, they re-signed both sides. Dalton Schultz offensively. They re-signed.
I really like that pickup. Like that pickup.
Obviously, the biggest splash is Joe Mixon coming from the Bengals. They acquired him via trade. They only gave up picks for him. I can't remember which picks it was. I'll let you know in a second. But they got Joe Mixon via trade, and it wasn't a big load given up. I think he's going to do extremely well in that offense because the issue that they had running the ball was more so Bobby Slowick's. He runs that vertical zone offense, and you need a little bit more speed. Damian Pierce was a little bit more of a bruiser. They still have him. And so, again, with the Thunder and Lightning, Joe Mixon is going to be speed, while Damian Pierce is a little bit more of a bruiser. Even Singletary was a little bit more of a bruiser. So now that they have a true vertical running back, one that can get downfield, I think that's going to be really well for their offense. And adding any top talent to a team is, of course, going to make them a lot better.
They re-signed Noah Brown too.
Yeah, also re-signed Noah Brown. Got a couple smaller pieces. Danico Autry off the edge. Jeff Okudah, backup cornerback, are probably going to be backup cornerback. So they're making moves, man. That's honestly, I don't know. It's looking scary, especially since CJ Stroud is still on his rookie deal.
Hey, man, this is how you rebuild not just a team, but a fucking franchise. This is how you rebuild it. Like, the image of the Texans have completely done a 180. Like, not just, they didn't just trade for Joe Mixon. They re-signed him. He's there for the next 3 years, $37 million. So he had to agree to that. You only agree to that if you're invested in the team and what y'all are building there. Danielle Hunter, they signed him in free agency. Since when was Houston a free agent destination? It's never been.
They traded Joe Mixon for a 7th-round pick. So they essentially got him for almost free.
Free. Literally. Because, I don't know if the Noble curse might come into effect here, but if that 7th-round pick ends up being the next Tom Brady, we're going to be looking back on this episode, or the next Brock Purdy we're going to be seeing. But this is how you rebuild a franchise. I really like what the Houston Texans are doing. They have so much young talent. You got Tank Dell, who I'm sure he's going to bounce back from. What did he injure? His ACL or his Achilles? I can't remember what he hurt. Tank Dell.
I don't even think it was either one. I think it was just just a standard knee injury.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he's going to bounce back next year. Nico Collins, of course, he's just going to keep building that camaraderie with CJ Stroud.
Broken fibula. It was a standard leg injury.
So he's going to be back and playing like ain't shit happened. And you got all these guys who are still on their rookie deals, and now you're just adding in, veteran, established talent. Dalton Schultz. You got, like I said, Azeez Al-Shahir, who recorded 163 tackles and 2 sacks last year for the Titans, who already played under D'Amico Ryans. I'm sorry, I'm going to say D'Amico Ryans. Joe Mixon, who he's third in the Bengals franchise history in rushing yards last year. He had over 1,000 yards. He's racked up 6,412 yards and 49 touchdowns during his 7-year career with the Bengals. This is great for a team that is young and is hungry. They already made a playoff run. Beating the Browns and then going on to push the Ravens in that first half. And now they're just getting better and better. They're going to keep building, and they're adding
going to get better.
Exactly. They're just stacking that defense. They're stacking that offense. And I said it. I've been saying it for a while that I was hoping C.J. Stroud could get a veteran receiver, like a real high caliber top 10 guy, just to bring that superstar presence to that offense. But I'm fine with Joe Mixon going there. I think Joe Mixon is star enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's good enough. So I like this. I think they're probably the biggest winners in free agency thus far, because just big moves all around, and name status. Joe Mixon and Daniel Hunter are clearly the two biggest, but Azeez Al-Shahir, Dalton Schultz, and the other names that you said.
Noah Brown.
Yep, re-signed Noah Brown.
Desmond King, or even the kicker, Kaimi Fairbairn. He's been one of the better kickers in the league. They re-signed him. So, I mean, this moves. Nick Caserio has been doing a great job with this rebuild, with the entire roster construction and things of that sort. So, shout out them. D'Amico Ryans was a coach of the year candidate. He was honestly my coach of the year, but even so, he's a very good head coach. So they got so much to look forward to. Texans fans have, injuries. If as long as they stay healthy, they're going to be one of the teams contending in the AFC for sure.
Absolutely. Like, I'm super excited. Like, I'm on the Texans hype train bandwagon. I'm rolling with them. I said it. What did I say a couple episodes ago? I said the Texans I'm picking the Texans off jump. Yeah. I'm picking the Texans to represent the AFC or I'm picking the Texans to make out the AFC. Yes, it's going to be tough, of course, with the Steelers and their acquisitions, with the Ravens, with the Chiefs, of course. I'm still picking the Texans, baby. We rolling with them.
They got the number 23 pick in the draft,
which isn't a bad
slot.
That
from Cleveland. Yeah, they got that from Cleveland. So they got. Let me see how many is this. They've got 8 picks in this next draft. They're just gonna build up some depth with some of the later round picks or things of that sort. I trust their judgment, and I can literally trust their judgment in the draft because they just had both the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. So
yeah,
it's just they're doing a great job down there in Houston.
Absolutely. So, hey, Falcons versus Texans, Super Bowl 2025. You heard it here first. I'm calling it. March 14th at 11:59 p.m. I just called it. Falcons versus Texans in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you the damn conference championship match. The Falcons going to beat the 49ers by 30 points. I'm going to dance on Noble's grave. Okay. And then the Texans are going to finally dethrone Patrick Mahomes and the Thanos-like grasp that they have on the AFC. Dude, that would be so good. That would be so good to watch. I'm kidding. But I do think that the Texans will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Jumping back to the NFC, sticking with running backs too. The Packers signed Josh Jacobs. They no longer are rolling with Aaron
Jones, who went
Aaron
to
Jones.
The Vikings.
I'm tripping. Yeah, I'm sorry. Someone just got a text. Aaron Jones, who went to the Vikings.
Another player that went to a division rival. We've seen a lot of that this offseason.
I know a lot of traders, man. A lot of traders. But we saw how effective Aaron Jones was for the Packers offense in the playoffs. I know you saw it firsthand. Y'all was on the ropes right there. So look,
first 100-yard rusher in like that we gave up in like 50-some games.
Look, expect Josh Jacobs to double that production. 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I think he led the league in rushing 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, 2022 he did. Mm-hmm.
Yep, 22 years ago, 2022. I really like that pickup. Josh Jacobs, he signed 4-year, $48 million deal. He was one of the big name running backs in free agency alongside Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. I like that pickup. Like I said, I like Josh Jacobs going there. He's going to be able to kind of balance out that Green Bay offense. Excuse me. He's going to allow them to. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of Jordan Love, who, the expectations are going to be growing for him entering this next season after kind of almost beating, knocking off the top dogs in the playoffs. Expectations going to keep growing. Packers are cashing in on that thus far by going to get Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, they also went and signed Xavier McKinney from the Texans. That was a really good pickup at safety.
Who?
I
I thought he played for the Giants.
I might be getting them mixed up. If I am, that's my fault. Yeah, he is from the Giants.
He's a safety?
Yeah, he is on the Giants. I'm tripping. Xavier McKinney, I'm still Texans. Yeah, so they went and signed Xavier McKinney, very solid safety. They signed him to a 4-year, $68 million contract. So that was a very good pickup for them defensively, because I think that is DB was one of their, outside of Jair Alexander, DB was one of their weaknesses going into this season. So I think that was a very very, very solid pickup for them. They also got Keyshawn Nixon. That was they re-signed him. So, they re-signed A.J. Dillon as well in the backfield, so they have a little bit more. They still have that depth at running back. He's a very solid backup. And I just think, this draft, we said this for a lot of teams already, it's going to be a very important draft. I think with Jordan Love, they're going to need to get him a real number one receiver. Christian Watson is solid, but I don't know if he's the guy. Dontavian Wicks, I think he's really solid, and he might even grow into.
He's showing some signs, yeah.
Yeah, he's showing some signs. I think he could even grow into that guy, but I just think they need some consistency. That's one of the things that we were talking about, even with the Texans, getting your young quarterback some consistency. And also, Jordan Love's going into this 4th year. They're going to pick up his 5th-year option, but you got 2 more years of him on his rookie contract. You got to kind of decide how you're going to figure out, start gearing up, because you're going to have to pay him a lot of money in 2 years. So They got a little bit of stuff to figure out in that department as well.
I agree. So, yeah, the Packers, I think that they kind of – I think Jordan Love is the guy. And like you said, it's still a question mark. Like, if I was to give them a grade, their wide receiver room a grade, I give it just barely a C+, where it's like, I'm not, it's like they have some guys who we think can get there, but none have really broken out.
Like there's so much bubbling talent that you're just question marks. Like you said, you think that they could be the guy, and they have a lot of talent there. It's just there's no solid bona fide number one receiver, and like you said, consistency.
Exactly. So I like that pickup though with Josh Jacobs. I think that is going to be their most consistent player on offense. Just like you said, with how great of a rusher he is, put the ball in his hands. That's going to open up play action passes. We know Jordan Love has the arm to throw downfield. Hey, we'll see. Like I said, this draft's going to be important for them. This draft is just a big draft in general. Like you're going to I think the first 3 rounds,
a lot of talent too.
Yep, you're going to have to make sure that you are hitting on a lot of these picks. Let's go to Seattle, and this is not even so much free agency. That they just traded for Sam Howell from the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
They traded for him. So he has the potential to grow into a quarterback one. Geno Smith is still there. When he was with the Commanders in Washington, the dude just got sacked like 60 plus times. There was no O-line. You can't expect them. You can't expect the man to do anything with that. Period. Like,
yeah, I think it's a lot better than people give him credit for. Mainly because he put up numbers. He did put up numbers. A lot of people, he was one of the at one point he was one of the leading passing yard leaders. He put up numbers. It just wasn't much he could do behind that offensive line. And I know he had a couple weapons. Obviously, he had Terry, he had Jahan Dotson. He's going to another team that has weapons. They got Tyler Lockett, they got DK, they got JSN. So Kenneth Walker in the backfield. So it's just I think it'll be a good it's good competition for Geno. In case A, he gets hurt, or B, he doesn't, because last year he was a little back and forth in terms of good, and you weren't quite sure where he was. So I think it'd be good for good competition for him. But yeah, I just think a lot of people don't know how good he is. And I'm not saying he's a world beater. I'm not saying he's the next coming of Mahomes. But when you're behind the offensive line like he was, you just probably can't properly evaluate his talent. Like I said, he did put up some solid numbers in some of his starts as well. Almost beat the Eagles twice.
Right. So it's that's a good trade for them, because that quarterback room is just still questionable. It was Geno Smith and Drew Lock. When Geno Smith, like you said, he was pretty up and down, and then when he got hurt, Drew Lock came in. He had that good game against the Giants, and that was pretty much it. So Sam Howell, he's coming to a team with some more weapons. The Seahawks, though, their free agency has really been cuts. They've been releasing a lot of people. They did it before free agency opened up. They were doing it during the what I want to say, franchise tag deadline. They cut Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, which cleared about $27.5 million in cap. Then they cut Will Dissly, their tight end Will Dissly, and O-lineman Brian Moan. And that was after only having about $12 million in cap just a week prior. So now after they made those cuts, they had about $41.5 million in cap space. They spent that on signing Rayshon Jenkins. There's a center, Nick Harris. They shelled out some money to Leonard Williams. They re-signed Noah Fant, which I don't really know. Noah Fant, he's kind of just middle of the pack.
I thought he was gonna be the guy, man.
Me too, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was gonna be that. We got him in that trade with Russell Wilson. I was like, oh shit, Noah Fant's gonna be some nice work.
I thought he was gonna be the guy, man, because he has the tools.
He has the build.
Like he has the tools and everything. He's just, I thought he was the next Travis Kelce. I'm gonna be honest with you. He just hasn't turned out.
Yeah, he's just middle of the road. Just underwhelming. I thought he was going to be that guy too. I was like, that was a great pickup for him with the Broncos. What you just saw.
Oh no, that's something totally different.
Okay. I was about to say, I didn't know we just saw a trade or something.
No.
But yeah, so they said the Seahawks free agency offseason have been marked with cuts. So how do you think? Number one, they haven't really made no splashes in free agency. I'm not sure what pick they have in the draft because they made all these cuts. They cut. Firstly, Jamal Adams just did not have the career with the Seahawks that when he got picked up from the Jets, man, we thought he was going to have. So Quandre Diggs, the same thing. So losing those two safeties, I'm sure Seahawks fans can live without it, but they didn't really compensate. They haven't got anything big with that money that they freed up. So what do you think the Seahawks should do next?
I think it's more because offensively they have a ton of pieces offensively. I think that's offensive line. Their offensive line is still very shaky. I think they need to target some offensive line, but the pieces are there. Quarterback, you got two solid quarterbacks on the roster, so I think they're fine in that department. They did just go out and get Mike McDonald to be their head coach. I think that's an excellent pickup. So they've got a lot of things. I think it's just a matter of gelling together the defense because they do have some talent in Devon Witherspoon, Mafe, the D lineman. They've got some talent. They just need linebackers for sure. I think linebacker is one of their weaker positions. DB is one of their. Obviously, they just released both safeties, so they need two safeties now.
Oh, yeah.
DB. So I think it's defense for me. Defense, and then just making sure they have some consistency on offense. Like I said, I really like the Sam Howell pickup for them because I think he's, if anything happens to Geno, they're still going to be able to be afloat at the bare minimum, be afloat with Sam Howell. So they got that. I just think defense and Mike McDonald being the defensive coach he is, you get him some pieces. We've seen what he can do with top pieces on the defense. Exactly. Mm-hmm. We've seen what he can do with that. So I think it's just a matter of making that defense great again. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but defense is great again.
Election year, Noble. We know who Noble's voting for. I'm going to clip that out and splice in some AI magic. Man, we're gonna.
But they have the 16th pick, so they have a pretty solid pick. They don't have another pick until pick 78, but Yeah, so they no second round pick and then kind of a late third. But if they can get a really good defensive piece with this 16th pick, I think they'll be well on their way to tooling up that defense. Because I think, like I said, Mike Macdonald's one of the better defense, kind of like regarded as the Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan of the defensive side. So it's just a matter of getting that defense some pieces.
Trade Tyler Lockett. Trade him. Just not to say anything about knock him as a player. He's still a top talent, and that's exactly why you should trade him while you still can.
Stock is high. Yeah.
Yes. Invest in DK and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Tyler Lockett has done wonders for your team. He has been a mainstay. He has been consistency personified. Move on from him. That's not going to work having 3 receivers who are capable of being a number 1 on multiple different franchises. Trade him. You didn't release him.
First round pick on JSN. Well, you're going to use a first round pick on a number 3 receiver?
Exactly. So be real. Be honest with yourself, because you can trade. There's a bunch of teams that will buy for Tyler Lockett. Bunch of teams that will buy for him. So trade him while you still can. Do not make the decision. Don't make the decision of holding on to something a little too long and installing your offense, stalling JSN's growth and development. Just trade him. That's my thing. Like I said, the defense need to be bolstered, but you can trade him for. I think you could get a second round pick for him. I think you get an earlier third round pick for him. I think you could get a solid defensive piece for him. He's still what? Right, how old is he? 28, 29?
Probably upper 20s, late 30s. I'm sorry, upper 20s, early 30s.
30s. So he still got miles on him. He still got a lot of miles on him.
Yeah, 31. Yeah, so he's at a receiver. That's not even really.
That's not bad. You still look. Keenan Allen got his 31. He just had his best year in his career. So you still got a lot of miles on Tyler Lockett. Get rid of him while you can, and get something back for him, and invest fully.
Going to be 31 going into the next season, so it's like, that's like what? That's probably you see, that's still top talent at that little upper 30s age, still producing and getting paid for it as well. Yeah, and I think if they do trade him, if they don't trade him by the draft, I think it'll be best for them to trade him near the trade deadline, because I think he is the type of piece that a team that's right on the brink, because he would remind me of the Emmanuel Sanders trade that the 49ers made back in 2019, where they got him right before the trade deadline. And, it kind of propelled our team to Super Bowl contention. So I think their best value for him, getting him, would be somewhere around that time, trading him to a team that thinks that he would be one of the pieces to propel them into like serious contentionship.
We were just talking about it. The Steelers looking for at number 2.
That would be a great number 2, especially Russell Wilson's already played with him. So Russell Wilson has that rapport with him. That would be a really good trade destination.
Really good. So if I'm the Steelers and I'm the Seahawks, I'm talking as the days and the weeks come up to this draft in April. I would really like that fit though. Mac Jones. How's our boy Mac Jones, man? He's no longer a New England Patriot after 3 very, very tumultuous years. He has been traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He will now be backing up Trevor Lawrence. He had a solid rookie year in 2021, and then it just seemed like Bill Belichick just said, fuck you, put the middle finger in his face, and then spit on his feet, and just his development completely stalled. I've never been big on Mac Jones, but like I said, he had a solid rookie year, but ever since then it's just been it wasn't a good fit.
They also didn't do him much justice with
they didn't give him a chance.
Surrounding them with receiver wise, who was the best receiver this year?
Jacoby Myers, Devontae fucking Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster
this year. Kendrick Bourne is solid, but he's not a receiver 1. Like they just did no justice with his help. So I think I don't know if he's gonna be as good as Baker, because I don't think his highs were as high as Baker. But I think him getting a change of scenery is long overdue, because I just think it wasn't working out.
Me neither. And their new coach Jerome Mayo, he wasn't gonna roll with him. It was just you needed a change of scenery. I say the Jags they're just bolstering that backup position, and they didn't have to trade much for him. So, you can't really fault them for that. So who knows if Mac Jones will ever get another real shot at being a starter? He might just be that backup position for the rest of his career. But if so, I'm sure he's just glad to be out of New England. That was probably a real stressful 3 years for him. I can't lie.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
getting
Especially
benched and like getting benched and put back in and starting and getting benched and having just your name constantly in the certain media circus saying such contradictory things. You got some people saying you need a chance and you got to do better by him, and you got others saying that he's trash and he was never this and this is, and then you have Bill Belichick coaching you. I'm sure that just added to it. So I'm glad that he's gone, just because I don't want to see anybody in a stressful situation like that. I wouldn't want to goddamn be in New England. And then as far as their team, they released JC Jackson, who didn't pan out at all how they thought he was going to be, picking him up from the Chargers a few years ago. They
picked
franchise
him back
tag.
up this year. He was good. Remember, he was good on the Patriots. Then he went to the Chargers. The Chargers
Oh no, that's what it was. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I get my
Chargers
damn
dropped the
timeline.
bag on him, and then he wasn't good. And
Yeah.
The Patriots got him back, but he still wasn't good when he came back.
Yeah, I got my damn timeline confused. I just remember he was trash. I remember he was goddamn very trash and underwhelming after he got that sack from the Chargers. They franchise tag Kyle Duggar, re-signed Hunter Henry, re-signed Kendrick Bourne. They signed Jacoby Brissett. So we'll see how he's going back to the team that I think he started with, right? Yeah, he started with the Patriots. So back when Brady was still around. So we're gonna see how that's gonna go. I like Jacoby Brissett. He's just good enough to keep going.
They're gonna target either Drake May or whoever the Bears don't pick.
Mm-hmm.
If they, like I said, assuming they're picking Caleb Williams, they're probably gonna get Daniels or Drake May with the number 3 pick, whoever the Bears and the Commanders don't end up picking. So I think it's just gonna come down to whichever one those two don't pick up. That's gonna be the quarterback that they get between those 3 guys.
And they got it. Whoever they pick, they have to land with. They have to. You can't go through another 3 years with question marks at quarterback. You can't.
Yeah. And so I think it's just, he's got a good backup in Jacoby Brissett, a vet who's going to be able to teach him a lot of things. Jacoby Brissett, I think he's as good of a vet quarterback backup as you can get. They re-signed Josh Uche for pennies. I don't know how they got him for a $3 million deal. I know it's a 1-year deal. I don't know how they got him for a $3 million deal. That was an absolute steal. You should talk to his agent about that, because that was theft. But that, Antonio Gibson got him out the backfield from Washington. I think that's a solid pickup. Just something like, they still have Ramondre Steve, or do they still have Ramondre? I think they still have Ramondre Stevenson.
That is a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they still have Ramondre Stevenson. So if he can be healthy, maybe hopefully he can get back to that 1,000-yard level that he was at. Hunter Henry's a solid target. So they've got some more to work with than they did in the last couple of years, because their offense was just pitiful these last 3 years, or last 2 years especially. So hopefully whatever quarterback they end up getting is coming into a much better situation than Mac Jones ended with. So I think that's just an important thing. And then just all around, top to bottom, there's been just a change of the guard. Belichick's reign is over. They got a new head coach, new coordinator, and almost new coaching staff. He brought in his own squad with him. So just a lot of changes seen. There's gonna be a very different look for the Patriots in 2024.
It is
in the last year.
It is. Hey, I made it a point to not watch the Patriots, because they're just, why do I want to watch Bailey Zappi get bounced or throw the ball, and then watch Mac Jones throw the ball, and then watch Bill Belichick standing on the sideline with that scowl on his face? Why do I want to watch that? Why do I want to watch Juju Smith-Schuster and Kendrick Bourne, and I guess it wasn't Jacoby Myers, but a few years ago, Jacoby Myers was on there too. Why don't I want to watch that? Yeah, and That's the nigga I was forgetting. Boy, oh my goodness. Man, I'll you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna be tuned into the Patriots. I want to see who they get in the draft. Now that Bill Belichick isn't there, because if Bill Belichick was still there, I'm sure he would have picked the defensive lineman or some damn, he would have picked some bullshit with that number 3 pick. But we're gonna see who the quarterback they take at number 3. They have to quarterback. It's too top heavy for them not to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna see what they do. The Bills, they take a chance and sign Curtis Samuel, wide receiver Curtis Samuel, to a 3-year deal worth $24 million. They lost Gabe Davis to Jacksonville, and they just replaced him with Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel is a better receiver than Gabe Davis anyway, so this is a win for the Bills in my eyes. Excuse me.
They kind of cleaned house defensively as well.
Yeah, I'm about to say, hey man, they cut a lot of folks. They cut Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer. Yeah, they cut Mitch Morse at a center. Man, they have to restructure Von Miller's contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that was a necessity too, because that contract was looking like one of the worst ones in the league, to be honest with you. That contract was terrible. And that's part of the reason they're in the cap situation they are in today, is because they gave, and that was a question we all had, was why are you giving 36-year-old Von Miller the bag that their 34-year-old Von Miller, the contract that they had initially gave him? There were so many questions about that contract in the first place. A 6-year, $114 million contract.
Yeah.
For a 33-year-old at the time. That was never the best decision. But they re-signed Taylor Rapp, their safety.
Yeah.
They got, re-signed AJ Epinesa. That's a solid re-signing. Extended their tackle Deion Dawkins. He's really good. So they got things, and like you said, Curtis Samuel being probably their best pickup so far this free agency. I just think there's still questions with them about what do you really do, though? How do you get over the hump? Because I still couldn't tell you how they get over the hump. I still couldn't tell you like what.
Oh, actually, I'll tell you.
No, go ahead. Let me hear you, because I don't have an answer for you.
I'll tell you. I said this. I'm not sure what episode it was, but I said this before in the past episode. The Bills have to change their identity. Josh Allen is not Superman. He is not who you think he is as far as he's your star quarterback, right? But don't make him your offensive centerpiece where you're going to win by him or lose by him, because you've been losing by him all his career. You've got to the divisional and lost. So this whole thing where it's going to be we're going to live and die by Josh Allen is not the way to go. You have to play a team game, right?
And I think picking up Curtis Samuel is a good step towards that. James Cook had a great year last year. The run game was kind of doing this thing even in the playoffs against the Chiefs. They were relying on that run game for a bit until they needed Josh Allen. If Tyler Bass makes that kick, we could be having a different conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think them getting Curtis Samuel kind of does alleviate some of the pressure. I do think he's a better wide receiver too than Gabe Davis, so it does alleviate some of that pressure on Josh Allen. They Dalton Kincaid, the tight end that they drafted early last year, he was solid this year. He's probably gonna make some more strides next year. So I do think they are making steps towards what you said, because honestly, I agree with that. That is probably one of the only ways that they can get over the hump. Because it just seems like right now they're staring at an insurmountable wall that is the Chiefs. And even if they beat the Chiefs last year, I don't think they beat the Ravens. If they get to the Super Bowl, even if they beat the Ravens, I don't think they beat the 49ers. So it just seems like they're stuck in a bracket right now. And I think what you said is probably one of the only ways for them to not be in that area that they're in, because they literally have been playing Josh Allen ball. They play Josh offensively. They've just been, and when they went away from it in the Chiefs, it was such a detriment because they're not playing how they've been playing all year.
Exactly. Because they were running the ball, like you said, they were running the ball very well, But firstly, they couldn't stop them defensively. And then when it was finally time to like, okay, we're gonna have to put this game away, bro. You've been running the ball all game, right?
No
Now you're
rhythm,
trying to switch
no passing
rhythm.
rhythm. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You're trying to switch the script already in the playoff game against a team that you historically have not been able to beat. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are just playing the same game that they've been playing. They were just playing like it was another game. They were literally just matching them. Okay, you want to run the ball and score? Okay, we're passing and running the ball, and we're still keeping up with you. So what's new now? What's new? Right?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. You have to. It has to be a team effort. Don't just, it's either Josh Allen is going to run and, Chris Collinsworth was going to make a big deal about how he's so big and he can run through guys and he wants to contact and then he's going to throw the ball up to Stephon Diggs and hopefully he can make a play in double coverage. And if he doesn't, now we're looking at a 3rd and 10. He's going to have to try to make some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't do that again. You can't, because guess what? Okay. Firstly, you're not going to have the same defense to bail you out when you throw interceptions or when you fumble the ball or when you make mistakes, right? And then secondly, Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer couldn't stay healthy for significant portions of the season. So you're already fighting an upwards battle, just defense or not defense, just health period for y'all, especially defensively. So you're not going to have the same defense to bail you out. You have to change how you play. I like the pickup by Curtis Samuel because you're adding versatility in that wide receiver position. According to Pro Football Focus, Curtis Samuel was lined up as a slot receiver on just under 75% of the time over 2022 and 2023. But he also has the ability to line up on the outside, line up in the backfield, similar to how we see Deebo Samuels in San Francisco do. So I think it's going to give a little bit more depth as far as play calling is concerned, because you don't have to just live and die by Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen's legs. You can't win a Super Bowl that way. And because of y'all being too stubborn and stuck in your ways for so long, I believe y'all Super Bowl window has shut closed. I don't think y'all are getting over the hump of the Chiefs. The Ravens, the Bengals are coming. The Texans are here. The Colts are coming. We got a lot of bodies in the AFC that are not here to play around. I'm not going to say the Jets yet. The question marks are still out there for the Jets.
I don't even know if they get over Miami, depending on how they do. They're kind of iffy.
Yeah,
Miami's in a weird spot, but that's still a challenge. That's not a gimme. That's not a gimme by any means. So I mean, it's just, and we saw it a little bit with the Chiefs, where it was a little bit like Mahomes and Kelsey ball, even though they still had Rashee Rice, they still had Pacheco, but without the reason that they were so successful was they had a absolute lockdown defense. They had the best, one of, if not the best, DCs in the game, and then they had an absolute lockdown defense. Hell, didn't let anybody score 30 points all year. Yeah. Bills don't have that, so you can't rely on hero ball because it's just not gonna. Now you're playing keep up with every single team you're going against, and you can't do that. It's not sustainable. We saw with the Vikings when they were 11-0 in one-score games, and then they collapsed against the Giants in the playoffs. It doesn't work when you have to keep playing close games and having to keep having, like you said, just this whole relying on Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs, because when they take that away and you got nothing else left, you're just gonna collapse. So hopefully this year, I know, didn't they fire their OC like mid-season last year?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so man, they get a little bit more, they get an off season with the play calling, new play caller and things of that sort. So maybe they'll be able to start differently this year, start without relying on Josh Allen hero ball. So that way when they get to the playoffs, it can be gelled together and things of that sort. And or if they get to the playoffs, it can be a lot more gelled together. But yeah, I fully agree with you that they just cannot rely on Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs save us.
Right. These niggas ran a fake punt. DeMar Hamlin. So,
the Chiefs broke the script on that one, man. They were supposed to let that one. That was supposed to be a first down.
Hey.
Sean McDermott might be on the hot seat too. I don't know.
Man, they should have been got rid of that man. But after them 9/11 comments and y'all did nothing with that, bro. You should have
Sean
got rid of that
McDermott
nigga,
might
bro.
be in trouble because just he's run into the same roadblock every single year. Almost every single year, except for the year that they lost to the Bengals. So it's like
right.
they seem to be what would their like NBA equivalent be? They kind of remind me of the Utah Jazz from a couple years ago, where they just were with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, where they just couldn't get past. They literally, even if they were a high seed, they were the number 2 seed this year. Even if they were a high seed, the Jazz were a 1 seed. They still just couldn't do anything because they couldn't get past that wall.
I like that comparison. I like that. That's accurate. Like I said, man, I think their Super Bowl window's closed, dude. Like they had their chance and they blew it. And I think it's not. We're not just gonna sit up here and say, man, it's just an example of Patrick Mahomes being too good. No, we've seen the man be beatable. Y'all had the pieces to beat him. Everybody hyped all up, and I was one of the people who were. Right. Finally. Yeah, I'm saying these are all the chances. Yeah, this and that. And, this is finally the chance. They changed the goddamn playoff overtime rules for y'all. And y'all haven't done anything with them. So, I truly don't want to, they're not. I think the Super Bowl window's closed, plain and simple. The Colts, we can just touch on, like, now the rest of these moves are kind of, well, we'll get to the Titans after this, but the Colts, they signed Joe Flacco, 1-year deal. So be backing up Anthony Richardson once he returns. I like that pickup because we saw what Joe Flacco could do with the Browns. They also re-signed Michael Pittman Jr. to a 3-year, $70 million deal. That's good. They re-signed their D tackle Grover Stewart to 3 years, $339 million. Re-signed Kenny Moore, their cornerback Kenny Moore, to 3 years, $30 million. And what was their record last year? Like they just barely missed the playoffs with Gardner Minshew for majority of the season.
Yeah, I think they were 9-7 last year. So I think, like you said, they literally just barely missed the playoffs because of, or 9-8. I'm sorry, I forgot the extra game. 9-8, and so they literally just barely. They were the 10th scoring offense in the NFL with Gardner Minshew at the helm. And Gardner Minshew was terrible, but he's not Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson looked really good in the couple starts that he looked really good in the couple starts that he had. So you can only figure that he's gonna, elevate this offense even more. They still got how did I forget the name? Who's the old boy in the backfield? Jonathan Taylor in the backfield.
Oh, yeah,
they said they re-signed Michael Pittman, although Jonathan Taylor's health is a little bit questionable because he was out a couple games. They lost Zach Moss, who was their backup running back, who did shine in a couple of those games that he was out. But if he's healthy, he's one of the top backs in the league. Re-signed Michael Pittman. I just think, defensively, re-signed Grover Stewart, Kenny Moore. They've got pieces for sure. And they just barely missed the playoffs with pretty much a backup quarterback all year. So they're looking to be, and they're in a Texans aside, I would say relatively weak division. Titans, they're not really going down. Expect them to do anything.
But we're going to talk about them just a second.
Jags are still a very big question mark as well. So it's just they've got a AFC South has historically, outside of the Texans this year or going into next season, I don't expect much from the AFC South. So they've got a pretty open division. So I think they've got a chance to be pretty good this year.
I think I told you after my fight when we were eating afterwards, I said I'm looking forward to what the Colts are going to do because now you're going to get A-Rich back, and Michael Pittman is number one priority. Got to get him. He's a 6'4", 6'5" playmaker. Like you can't get any better than the abilities and talents he has. So they re-signed him for the long term zone, and he's still young too. I think it was a 28. Going to be 29, I think. So you got a lot of tread on him. A-Rich was looking very, very good.
Josh Downs was solid number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Colts are going to be a team to look out for next year. I'm excited for them. I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson. And of course, now you got that insurance policy with Joe Flacco in the backfield. You got
Yeah.
Joe Flacco too. We saw what Joe Flacco was able to mentor Lamar Jackson. Yes, he was still starting in 2018, but he was still able to help out Lamar Jackson. I'm sure Joe Flacco will do the same with Anthony Richardson. So also look at that as far as the mentorship aspect of the game is concerned. I really like that pickup. It's so minuscule, right?
Yeah,
But it's something that can grow into much more.
absolutely. And they got 3 picks in the top 90. They got their first round pick, number 15. Second round pick is pretty much about their 15th, that 14th pick of the second round. And then in the third round, they're number 82 overall. So they've got 7 draft picks. Essentially, they have their pick for every single round. None of them are they have their pick for every single round. So
who do you think they should go out and get? I'm thinking DBs.
DB would be good. I think they might, outside of Quentin Nelson, they might have some holes on that offensive line as well.
Yeah.
And it's a very it's a very good draft for tackles, especially. So
I say that right tackle spot. I can't remember who it is. I know Braden Smith is on that left side. I can't remember who's the right tackle.
Yeah, so I think either offensive line, DB is another good one. Linebacker, Shaq Leonard isn't there anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
He kind of fell off a cliff of sorts. So I think, one of those 3 positions. Like I said, it's a really good tackle draft, and I hope they don't take a tackle because I need a really good tackle to fall to the 49ers. But, we'll have to see what they decide to go. Like any one of those positions are a need, so any one of those positions would be pretty good.
So interesting too to just because you mentioned them, that 49ers have been so quiet in free agency. Like they're just ready for April to come around. They're ready for April to come around, and they're ready for damn preseason so they can get back and try to get that get back. Like
because when you think about it, how many offensive line is the whole? Right. Outside of that, what holes do they really have? They tooled up their defensive line. They went out and got a couple pieces that they lost. Cornerback Demo and Travarius Ward is a pretty solid duo. They were locking up in the Super Bowl for the most part until about the end. Travarius Ward had a really good Super Bowl, and it went really underrated because cornerback is such a thankless position. When you're good, you don't really hear about it, but when you're bad, it's loud. But he did a really good job. Demo has been really solid in the playoffs. They're getting Hufanga back. Jair Brown is going to he was really solid. He stepped up in Hufanga's place. He's going to be taking over the other side safety. Obviously, they got linebacker. They're going to have to get somebody to hold the fort until Dre Greenlaw gets back. But when they're healthy, that's the best linebacker duo in the league. And then offensively, we already know about all the pieces there. Purdy's going to look to take another step. Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, Trent Williams is still top of his game. So it's just a matter of hitting in this draft, making sure you get some pieces to set you up for the future, and then just, locking in next year. Like, it's probably one of the last of this window. Brandon Ayuk's going to be looking for a big contract after this. We might not be able to afford him. So, you really got to lock in this year and take advantage of what you have. Because after this year, Brock Purdy gets paid after next year as well. Or let me see. Last year was his rookie year. This year, so in 2 years, Brock Purdy's going to get his bag as well. So you gotta really take advantage of that rookie contract because he's making $1 million.
I think y'all should go out and sign Eli Apple. Anywho,
I will personally show up at Levi with a gas canister if we go out and sign Eli Apple.
Anywho, before we wrap up this episode, the Tennessee Titans, they signed Tony Pollard to a 3-year, $24 million deal. They also signed cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, linebacker Kenneth Murray Jr. from the Chargers, and they also signed Calvin Ridley. So surprisingly,
4-year, $92 million.
Yeah,
that's why that kind of reset the market a little bit. I'm scared.
Yeah, that's a lot.
He got that bag. Ayuk's gonna be asking for $30 million now.
Right, and unfortunately, that means the Falcons won't be getting that compensatory second round pick from the Jags since he didn't resign with them. Unfortunate, but it's just interesting. Well, now we're looking at a Titans offensive. Who we're looking at here? Will Levis, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, it's
Traylon
weird.
Burks in the slot.
Yeah, like it's
gonna
weird to
come
look at
down
the
to
Titans like this because like what do we expect their ceiling to be? Like
I don't expect much, and be honest with you. It's gonna come down to just Will Levis. I really just want to see him take some strides this year. He kind of had an up and down rookie year. So I think this is just a good benchmark year to see where Will Levis is, if he can be the guy going forward. Right. I think that's more what this year is, just to figure out if Will Levis is the guy you're going to rock with going forward. Defensively, they do have some solid pieces on that side, but other than that, it's just offensively, it's like I said, I think they're just kind of gauging where they are with Will Levis, if he's going to be the guy going forward.
Oh shit! They're spending damn $92 million on Calvin Ridley. He motherfucker better be the guy. Shit. The Buccaneers, they are locking up Baker Mayfield alongside Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield got signed to a 3-year, $100 million deal. I believe we talked about it. Mike Evans, he re-signed with the 2-year, $41 million deal. They also re-signed linebacker Levante David, and they signed safety Jordan Whitehead. So the Buccaneers are trying to gear up and win the division once again. Too bad they're not going to have anything on Kirko chains and Kirk Frost, you know what I'm saying? All that. So that's a good – I'm glad – or I'm not going to say I'm glad, but Baker Mayfield got his bag. You know what I'm saying? 3 years, $100 million. I'm not going to say I'm happy for it because you're in my division, buddy. So I'm going to make sure that they wasted their money on you. But
one team that's surprisingly made almost no moves, the Dallas Cowboys, they did nothing. They re-signed Carl Davis to a 1-year deal. They signed Eric Kendricks, but he's kind of up there in age. Outside of that, they've got 2 backup 1-year deals. Outside of that, they haven't done anything. They've literally made the least amount of moves of any team in the NFL.
And they've lost players, actually. Not even they lost people. They had
lost Tony Pollard. I don't even their running back room is Deuce Vaughn, and I don't even know who else is in there.
And Deuce Vaughn is a 5'6". Really, like you all these people in free agency and nobody wants to come play for you, or did you even offer anybody a bag? Like what's going on here?
I have no idea.
Y'all bullshitting.
Jerry your time his time might be up, man. I know he's not going to get rid of the team until he dies, but it's just McCarthy, and then you're talking about paying Dak $60 million next year. It's like man, and I couldn't be happier. You know, we don't like the Cowboys on this podcast, but it's just it's a mess. It's a mess. I don't like to see talent wasted. I don't want to see CeeDee Lamb's talent wasted. I don't want to see Micah Parsons' talent wasted. Just the Diggs. I don't want to see I just don't like to see talent wasted. So we'll have to see how that. I mean, I don't expect nothing from that team. They haven't given us any reason to expect anything.
Yeah, but nah.
It's just,
it is kind of odd. Like, dude, like y'all understand, like this narrative around y'all, right?
And I think the Hawks at least me the ECF,
right?
And when they decided to stick with everybody, y'all got knocked off by the underdog, by the 6 or 7 seed underdog in the first round.
They like to be talked about. They like to be talked about. They like to be they like this narrative surrounding their names clearly. There's a couple more moves before we head up on out of here. Cincinnati Bengals franchise tag T. Higgins, and with that, we kind of knew Tyler Boyd was not going to be returning to the team. They don't have a lot of money to kind of shell out to all 3 of those guys. Instead, they put that money towards Geno Stone, like we mentioned earlier, and Zach Moss. They also signed safety Von Bell. Cleveland Browns, they got Jerry Jeudy with the trade with the Broncos. And a big move for them, they signed Darius Smith from the Packers. That's a big-ass move. That's a good move. And again, the damn Browns defense, they just keep getting better and better and better. Like, what the hell did you need him for? Really? Now, really? You needed another pass rusher?
On opposite ends is nasty. I'm not going to lie to you.
Like, what, bro? So, yes, the AFC North is a hailstone
The
of a
Lions
division.
in the NFC North signed DJ Reader. That defense is also looking very nice. I think they're one of the better run defenses in the league. They were last year. I think they're still going to be like that. So, that's just a big pickup for that run defense. And, he's a good, solid pass rusher as well, top DT in the league. So that was a big pickup for them. They're kind of just, yeah. Oh, what were you saying?
Also, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that the Lions are kind of just looking to retool and load up because they don't have too many. They've re-signed a couple guys, but they didn't have too much. They haven't lost really any guys, especially offensively. They haven't really
because most of their team is so goddamn young anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Jared Goff is locked up. Jahmyr Gibson is rookie contract. Laporta rookie contract. St. Brown's already been paid. Montgomery's already been paid. So it's like they really don't have too much to resign.
I do hate that they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson back to the Eagles, though. I do wish he kind of stayed.
Because even culture-wise, because he was kind of an energy bringer, and that's another thing.
He was the goon of the team.
Exactly. Even with the whole blue shiesty things and stuff like that, like a lot of people underestimate what it is. Like you have to have certain guys that bring intensity to the team. The 49ers, a lot of people want to trade Debo just to open up cap space to pay Ayuk, but Debo's a part of that walkout. Debo is one of the physical tone setters of the team. You need that. You have to have some goons on the squad because without that, we've seen certain teams just kind of fall flat.
Without that, you get the Cowboys.
Exactly.
Without that, you get the goddamn Cowboys.
Talent with no goons. Talent with no intensity.
No dogs on that team, bro.
Exactly.
No dogs.
So it's just you gotta have some energy bringers, and he was one of those guys. I'm surprised he went to Philly because
me too.
He was like right beefing with the fans for a while. He was beefing with the fans and beefing with the former players and all that. I don't know. I'm just surprised he went back to Philly. And why would you let him go in the first place if you're going to get him back? But
and he's the same. Like I said, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's a goon. He was beefing with Debo Samuels and the 49ers too. That nigga is just wanting to cause trouble, and he wants to get everybody ramped up and talking.
Right, bro. With the Saints,
stomping on the logo. Kicking the damn Falcons logo and shit. Fuck that nigga.
When the dude on the Bears hit his helmet, he just kind of shrugged it off. Like, he's been doing this shit his whole career, man. He's the irritant.
Yeah, bro. But I love him.
Better
I love
Eli
Gardner-Johnson. Right, he actually has talent. The Raiders, they cut Jimmy Garoppolo, they cut Hunter Renfrow, but they signed Christian Wilkins from the Dolphins, 4 years, $110 million. That's a big pickup for that Raiders. They're going to a new era with Antonio Pierce at the helm. Quarterback position is still very suspect. They even released Brian Hoyer, so 2 49ers, both released by the Raiders. No Brian Hoyer, no Jimmy Garoppolo. They still rolling with Aiden McConnell, I guess.
They're probably going to hit somebody. Well, I guess it depends because, with their draft positioning, it's just kind of I'm not too sure if they're early enough to get a pick, a top quarterback, because they have the 13th pick. They're even behind you guys. So I just don't know if they'll be able to get a quarterback in this draft. And I think that's just they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck because they don't have – if they would have to trade up to get a quarterback because I just think they're too late to get any of the top guys. But other than that, it's like I don't think Aiden O'Connell's the guy. Like what?
No, definitely not.
What's it's just kind of question marks about what is the plan? Is it just to wait another year or like what are we really doing? Devontae Adams is just getting older, even though he's still
literally top.
It's just I'm not too sure what the plan is going to be for them at the quarterback position because that's just.
Why do you want to? I'm sorry. Why do you want to usher in a new era of head coaching with no type of prospect that quarterback?
Yeah, we see the two change together very often. Patriots, new quarterback, new coach. Falcons, new quarterback, new coach. Like we just see if you're gonna like I said, usher in a new era. You want a complete change of the helm, and Aiden O'Connell's not the guy.
No,
maybe he could prove me wrong, but I don't think he's the guy. And it's just like, what are you really gonna do? Because Tay is just getting older, And
Yep.
once you lose that, that's the top 5-10 receiver in the league. So what defensively they're pretty stout, but Max Crosby, they locked him up last year, but outside of that, like I said, defensively they're good defensively. They're good defensively, but and got Christian Wilkins, but offensively it's just so many. They lost Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
They just got so many question marks offensively.
Yep. The Denver Broncos, they cut former All-Pro safety Justin Simmons, which ends up saving them $14.5 million against the salary cap. It doesn't do shit. Honestly, it doesn't do shit. You know what that reminds me of? That move reminds me of. It reminds me of the Chris Paul hits a huge three to cut the lead down to 42. Like
That's
game
exactly
7
what
of the
I thought. That's exactly what I thought you were gonna say. Chris Paul hitting the three, hits the big three to cut the lead down to 42.
Dude, congratulations. You just saved $14.5 million of a $37 million contract. You're still playing somebody that's not even on your roster anymore.
$87 million dead cap. Like what? That does nothing for you. They're still. This year it's just a dead year for them. They can't do anything with that money. On their books.
At this point, they're just selling the whole damn everybody on the roster. You have to cut him. You have to cut Russell Wilson. You have to trade Jerry Jeudy. Like shit, who's next? Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, I was gonna say Patrick Surtain. What are you gonna do with that? If you're gonna don't let him walk. If you're gonna at least get some trade. But he was in. There were talks with him. For trading to the 49ers at one point, like at least trade him. Just don't let him walk if you're not gonna bring him back. But yeah, they're just that's a mess of a situation out there, man. It's ugly.
It's bad. Finally, the Chiefs franchise tag Jerry Sneed. He's in trade talks right now because they couldn't come to a long-term deal. They ended up choosing to stick with Chris Jones, which was the better choice. 5 years, $158 fucking million. That's insane. Of a lot of money.
Most paid in about time.
Yeah, that was the right choice. If you had to, it was you had to pick between the two. You weren't gonna be able to get both. You kept Chris Jones, who is the best player defensively and a leader on that defense. But Jerry Sneed, who knows? He might not even be traded. Who knows? So we'll see how that goes. Yep.
And one more team I wanted to talk about was the Commanders. Made some interesting moves. They've been spenders. They've been big spenders, but some of the moves they've made have been pretty interesting. They signed Zach Ertz. They signed Austin Eckler. They signed Bobby Wagner. That team would have went crazy in 2020, but we're in 2024. Right. I don't know. I mean, I know you want vets on the squad for sure, but Zach Ertz is pretty up there in age, and he got released by the Cardinals last year. Bobby Wagner is getting up there for real. Austin Eckler runs like has a 50-pound weight on his back. Like he's literally like the slowest running back in the league. It's hilarious to watch. But they got some solid pickups. They got Brandon McManus, he's a good solid kicker. Frankie Louvu, that was a really good pickup. Got him from the Panthers. That's one I really liked. But other than that, Clelin Ferrell from the 49ers, Marcus Mariota somehow still getting a job in the NFL. Even as a backup, I don't know how he's still getting signed.
He needs to be playing arena football somewhere off of TV. You never need to see him on any type of broadcast television again.
Yeah, I don't know how he's still getting signed, but they're in an interesting position. They've got a ton of cap space, but they're making just I don't. And you're not supposed to spend it all in 1 year. You don't want to spend it all in 1 year, but it just seems like the moves they're making aren't really setting themselves up for the future because Austin Eckler's old already, Wagner's old already, Ertz is old already. So I guess maybe getting some vet presence for whatever quarterback they end up getting between Daniels, Mayer, Williams, but it's just it's interesting to see because they're one of the bigger rebuilders of this year.
Yeah, they have been. So yeah, the Commanders going to be a team to kind of just you don't have to watch per se. Just keep an eye out on them, see what they're doing. Because like I said, they do have the most cap space, and I like Frankie Louvu going to that team as well. They traded away Sam Howell, and Marcus Mariota is, as of now, your QB1 until we see what you do in the draft. So it's not looking good for him. Any team that Marcus Mariota lands on, I am just going to preemptively hate and not want to see succeed. It's not my fault, but until he becomes the backup position, until he gets the backup position, really the QB3 position, I hope the Commanders fail. I'm sorry. But anything else you wanted to talk about? My computer is on the verge of dying.
Yeah, just real quick. Jets got Javon Kinlaw. That was a solid pickup for them. Giants, although they BS, they swapped out Saquon Barkley for Devin Singletary, and then their whole quarterback situation is just in the mud. They got Drew Lock, who's who's going to be competing for a solid job, but I don't know if he's going to be the guy. But hopefully, he has like a Baker Mayfield-esque transition. Can reset as one of the top guys, but that's a little still not exactly a splash. Outside of that, we covered. I mean, a lot of teams. The Dolphins had to lost Christian. They lost a couple pieces. They lost Wilkins. They lost Emmanuel Ogba. They lost Jerome Baker. Yeah, they lost the safety, but they did get Jordan Poyer. So they lost him, but they got Jordan Poyer. But yeah, that's just outside of that, we pretty much hit on all the big pieces that have moved around this offseason. It's been pretty hectic, and clearly volume was through the roof.
Yes, it has. So this has been NFL free agency recap. We're still not even close to being done. Still a couple of names that needs to be picked up. We will be back. This episode will be going out in the morning. We'll be back to discuss even more. UFC 299, of course. NBA is picking up even more. We're almost playoff time. More NFL free agency stuff, drafts, trades, all of that. So we will be back to talk about all things sports as we do normally on Hear Me Roar. With that being said, my name is the Tony Hope. That is Noble Lewis. My computer's finna die. And with that, we are out of here.